Vaya con Dios. That's Japanese, right?
Yes.
Oh, my grenade!
You are not StephOfAnime's dude. She has Jess back.
I just got the shiny! Josh, can you hear me? Oh my god, I got a shiny! The shiny! Yes! 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 Ah! 1 HP!
Yeah. We are joined by Twitch and Discord partner StephOfAnime. Thank you for joining us, Steph.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just talk about a whole bunch of things related to streaming and content and different things like that.
Thank you. We're really happy to have you too. This has kind of become a thing for us to get to see each other. Last time we hung out was at PAX East just a few weeks ago. With TwitchCon, PAX South, PAX East, this is kind of becoming a normal thing for us at this point.
It is.
For those who may not know, what would most people recognize you for?
So I am a Twitch partner, and I also do a little bit of YouTube content that's primarily Pokemon and Nintendo variety focused. So I've been a fan of Pokemon my entire life. That's the main game I love to play, but I also love playing a whole bunch of other things and trying new games out, and so that's what people would mostly know me for.
Well, I can appreciate the Pokemon-focused streaming, as almost all of us at this age have kind of started with Pokemon in one of the permutations or another. And we'll definitely jump into a little bit about Pokemon variation, but one of the first things I know a lot of our users probably have on their mind, or one of their major goals, is to become a Twitch partner or a Discord partner. And it's probably one of the biggest goals for a lot of people. How did you manage to snag that coveted checkmark, and how has it kind of impacted your stream?
So it's really interesting because when I started streaming, I almost feel like I was very disconnected from a lot of what goes on Twitch. And when I started streaming, it was because I had, a few other friends who did it while they just played games. They didn't have a really big audience. And so for me, streaming was just a way to make friends. And, over time, I realized that it could be so much more than that. And for me, it became like making friends, but also fostering a community. And I'm going to tell this story. And I came into this podcast knowing that this is something I wanted to talk about because, when I started, I had my little Discord. And at the time, there were maybe 20 people in this Discord. And I'll never forget, there was someone, and they were from Korea, which is 12-hour time difference for me. And they were talking about like they were feeling down, and me and like 4 other people who were in the server were just like cheering them up and saying, hey, like, don't give up, like things will get better, don't worry about it. And it was in that moment, this was at like 3 a.m, mind you, because I was up late, and in their time zone it was during like the day, and I realized that, wow, this platform can do so much more than just make friends, but you can create a place where people can feel safe, and they can have a place where if they don't belong, like they can have somewhere. So chasing Twitch partnership became less about, I want to be like a full-time streamer and like play video games, but it was like, I want to be a role model and tell people that you can be safe, you can be who you are. I love anime. Let's talk about anime. If you love whatever you love, like, let's talk about it. Let's be safe. Like, let's make a place for all ages to do that. So that was my big inspiration. And I guess just through that goal, Twitch partnership kind of made sense, to have that role model status to give to my community and whatnot. So, yeah.
It's almost like a chicken or the egg kind of scenario. Did it happen because of one or the other? Like, when did it, because your role model choice versus your following choice? It's almost like you became the partner before you got the partnership.
Yeah, it's really interesting, which is why that's another thing where it's like Twitch partnership is amazing, but I think even with affiliate status, I think you can do incredible, amazing things. And it's not even about getting the check mark. It's about what are you doing for your stream, and are you happy with what you're doing? And I think you can grow even without having that check mark, and it's just like a bonus on top of it.
Absolutely. I know it's just one of the stops along the road to your future career, but it is a decent milestone. But for everyone, let's go back and get some context for people. When and how did you first start playing video games?
Ooh, that's a great question. So my first ever console was the Nintendo 64, which I had ever since I was a really young kid. And so Super Mario 64 was my game. I was obsessed with it. I got all 120 stars, even though I get very lost in video games, so it took a really long time to do it. So that was my first ever game. And aside from that, Pokemon was a huge part of my life, just playing Pokemon. Interestingly enough, Fire Red was actually the first game I played and not the original, because I didn't actually have a Game Boy Advance. So I had a Nintendo 64, I had a Game Boy Color, but then I didn't have a Game Boy Advance, and the next handheld was the DS. So I started with Fire Red and was able to play the Game Boy Advance game through the DS, and then I went backwards because then I got the systems and everything to play all the previous games, and then I played Gen 4 and up. So that's really what spurred my love for video games, was definitely Nintendo-based stuff. Nowadays, I also love PC games, but definitely I'm a Nintendo fangirl at heart.
That's awesome. That's very similar to my path as well, so far as the negotiating the Pokemon titles and starting on the 64. I'm older enough so where I had the Super Nintendo and regular NES there, but it wasn't really until the 64's 3D environment kind of took place in Zelda, but there was so much about Mario specifically that you see kind of come up all the time. Great way to get into this, but Pokemon is a significantly different type of game. What kind of led you to that path to choose this as your streaming game? Like, what is that kind of stood out about the genre?
I guess for me, I was always just playing the games anyway, and I found it was always really easy to connect with people over Pokemon. So again, this whole idea of making friends, I felt like there was always so much you could talk about with Pokemon. Like, what's your favorite Pokemon? There's over 800 now. Like, that's crazy. And so all the different methods, like learning how to battle, the strategies, the RPG elements, the storyline, like I felt like it's complex enough to where there's so much to talk about, but it's also so simple that everyone can understand it without you needing 100 hours into the game. So it's really interesting in that regard. I mean, you have competitive battlers who mess with EVs and IVs and stuff that a casual player would be like, what the heck are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. So there's just so much for everyone, and I love that universal aspect to it.
You've got a huge amount of playtime on Pokemon as well, both in Ultra Sun and Moon and Let's Go. There's a lot of different titles on your playlist. What's your opinion of the new play style of Let's Go versus a traditional Pokemon game, which it kind of is?
Ooh, okay. So it's interesting. So Let's Go is very heavily based off Pokemon Go, which is the app. And I will say, I do love Pokemon Go. I play it every day on my commutes. I'm always going after raids and doing all sorts of things on Pokemon Go. So as an app, I really like it. I will say, I think it was cool to give it a try as a one-off game to have Let's Go have Pokemon Go mechanics and be like that. But I will say, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite in terms of gameplay style. Like, I much prefer the more traditional RPG sense of Pokemon. And I think it's really cool that they did risk taking, and I think the big thing that Let's Go did was it let developers practice on the Switch, graphics, gameplay styles, and it let them really play before Generation 8. And that I really value. But in terms of Let's Go, I definitely play Let's Go the least, and play other Pokemon games more. It's a beautiful remake of Kanto, but we also have 3 other remakes of Kanto, and so because of that, I'm really excited for Generation 8. Let's Go. It was really fun to play, but I'm also moving on to some other Pokemon games to hold me over until Gen 8.
Well, I'm sure with that playtime, you kind of burn through Let's Go pretty quickly for something that's so familiar to you. A lot of this, like you said, is the RPG nature, the storyline, and the new Pokemon to learn. So it kind of lacks a little bit of that finesse. But like you said, Gen 8's coming really soon. And there's a lot of news swelling up, both with Detective Pikachu coming out with Ryan Reynolds, and the crazy, creepy visuals we're getting out of it that look amazing as well. What is your opinion on this as the hype of Pokemon grows through AR, a movie, and this new Gen 8? Where does this kind of put you as a streamer in this kind of ecosystem?
Ooh, I mean, as a streamer, it gets me very excited because Pokemon is where I've fostered a lot of my content around, and so more content makes me really happy because it gives us more to do. And the Detective Pikachu movie looks amazing. I didn't think that a live action would, encapsulate me so much, especially as a big fan of anime. I haven't really liked the live action adaptations of anime that have come out, but this looks like a lot of love went into it, and I'm so excited to see Detective Pikachu. I'm really excited for that. More content just is really great. That's one of the things about Let's Go that I didn't really like, is because of how limiting they made it in terms of removing items. They got rid of Pokemon abilities. It really took away a lot of creative freedom that's in the community, which was to create all these challenges and different ways to play the game, and it made it really difficult to do that. I still think it's a great game to try out, and I think it does an amazing job introducing new people into Generation 1, all the kids who never got to play Red and Blue and Yellow. I think it's amazing for that. But for me, a veteran Pokemon player, it doesn't do it for me, and especially as a content creator. But I have really high hopes for Generation 8, and I think the fact that they're making a Detective Pikachu movie and they're hyping up more Pokemon things, it gets me really excited for what's to come.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like what you said about the live adaptations of anime movies, but in a way, this isn't really an adaptation of a Pokemon storyline. It is its own new storyline, right?
That is true.
So it lacks a little bit of that expectation inside of it. I know a lot of people kind of get weirded out by like the Jigglypuff animation and stuff like that, just like how it looks in general,
Yeah.
But I think it looks incredibly realistic, especially the Charizard. Oh my god. We'll get into anime in just a moment and the live action remakes and stuff. But like as far as like the technicalities of streaming a remake, so to speak, you were streaming enough of Pokemon to both see before and after Let's Go came out. So how did you see the community interact by comparison? Because it is somewhat of a restricted game.
I definitely think you can see the difference. I do feel that right now the community is a little disjointed. It's still there, and I feel like it's almost in hibernation, where people are still playing through Pokemon, but right now it's not in its peak form. If you go to the Let's Go directory, it is nowhere near as awesome as, what's with Sun and Moon, and especially previous gens before, and what I know and feel like Generation 8 is going to be, just by nature of it being a new generation. I think being a new generation will bring a lot of brand new people, but also just brand new like gameplay styles and fans to the game. So you could definitely tell right now there is a bit of a lull in the directory, but that doesn't stop you to keep playing what you want, and maybe take the time to do a little bit of variety on the side as well. That's something I do, is try to space out my love of Pokemon so you don't burn out, because burnout is a really important topic that a lot of people talk about, and so you want to take it a little bit easy, where it's like, if you love the game, still play it, absolutely, but don't kill yourself doing 12 hours of Pokemon straight if you're not going to enjoy it.
That's a really good point. The burnout of playing a singular title, not to mention the polyphonic music in the background, is basically the same in all of them, and over time it can haunt your dreams. So I see you've been jumping into things like Persona 5 and other types of titles to kind of get into, which is another anime-based art style. What can you tell me about the reasons why you chose that one, and kind of how this kind of bleeds into your anime love here?
Persona 5 is the perfect example of finding another game that meshes with what you already have with content and adds a new dynamic for me. So I waited a long time to play Persona 5 because I didn't have a PS4. I never had PlayStation until this Christmas. I took the dive, and I grabbed it, especially with Joker being announced for Smash. I was like, I really want to get into this. And I have been so pleasantly surprised by how much I love Persona 5. I'm only 10 hours into the game so far, so I have a long way to go. But it shares a lot of what I love about Pokemon and anime, and, has in its own way. And that's what I really like about it. That RPG aspect, but it's not so kid-friendly. It's a more mature game. But at the same time, it's very cartoon-like, which is what I really like about Pokemon. So finding games where it's an easy jump from what you're already doing is, I think, a really great way to transition into more variety-esque games. And I definitely noticed it with my stats. Jumping to a game like Persona 5, my audience, receives that way better than, say if I'm jumping to Fortnite, which is a completely different genre, which I've done, and I think taking risks every once in a while is good. But, for keeping your content similar, I think that's a nice way to transition. So I have been loving it. I can't wait to play more Persona 5. I love it so much. It's so good.
You touched on something really interesting there about how your community is interacting Persona 5, and because it has a similar foundational art style, at least, and kind of the type of of edginess of the anime. It kind of like
Yeah.
a natural combination, especially as your audience is maturing and all that stuff. How do you kind of determine that for other games? I know you not all of your games follow this kind of criteria. Does this really, how much does this impact your choice in game styles, or is this just inherently kind of what you enjoy and they kind of naturally connect?
I definitely think of my community. It's definitely a mix of both personal enjoyment and also like that makes me happy at the end of the day, is we're all having a good time. And so if it's not the gameplay that has similarities, I look for like that community feeling. Like, can I bond with my community over this game? So even if it's a completely different game, I'll give my favorite example, Jackbox, the Jackbox Party Packs. I think that's like my third most stream game at this point. I love the Jackbox games. I play them all the time. They're completely random. That's Cards Against Humanity x Kahoot. It's a totally different genre, but my community and I, we really bond over those kinds of games and how much like interaction there is. So if it aligns with my stream values and my core values for my stream, then I think it's a perfectly good jump. I've also found, if you think a game's going to be a really good fit, but you notice it's not following, you're not having as much fun, or your community's not enjoying it so much, then I do say, hey, I like this game a lot, but I don't think it's for stream. Like this is a game for personal time to play. So I think it really depends, and it's having a nice balance, for what you enjoy, what community enjoys, because, for me, it's like a group effort. Like I consider us a team, like me and my stream, so yeah.
No, absolutely. It's a little bit of a give and take, it sounds like, but your natural affinity for this content makes it a natural path, so it doesn't quite pull in the opposite direction for you. I know a lot of people say that the streams are kind of based on an expectation of what you're to be playing. Have you noticed yourself having to change expectations for your stream, or has it always kind of been this consistent understanding of this anime kind of genre path? I mean, of course, StephOfAnime, you have an expectation there, but how do you kind of manage that expectation, what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, I guess for me, honesty is really important, and just talking with my community. So whenever I'm feeling a certain way, like if I'm, say, feeling burnt out from a game, or if I'm feeling a certain way that I'm conflicted, I'm a really open book with my community, and I like to talk with them and do straw polls and just have a discussion about it. And so, and tell people, hey, this is where I'm at. What do you guys think? And, depending on their responses, I evaluate how I feel about it. Like, do I agree with what my chat is saying? Do I disagree? And how could we come to this understanding? And at the end of the day, it is my call. Like, it is my stream and I can choose that. But I guess just with my core stream value, like for me, like, you hear it all the time on Twitch, community, community, community. But for me, like, that's what brings me joy most of all. Like, talking about anime and games is great, but, something I do, for example, is like I shiny hunt on Twitch, and shiny hunting is like a gameplay mechanics, not very exciting. But, my favorite quote is from one of my friends. He goes by Wolfie, and he says, shiny hunting is just like fishing. It's really boring, but like you get to make so many memories with your friends and talking about it. So I really like to have that interaction, and if something's not giving me that, then I'll either have a discussion with them, or I'll just, try something else and see how it's received.
How did your content creation kind of begin? We talked about how you went from Pokemon games and into it naturally, but I see your Twitch and YouTube are a few years old, but you took a while to kind of pop, as most people do. So what can you tell me about this journey from first video to the level that you're currently at?
Ooh, okay. So, yeah, I have been around the content creation scene for a pretty long time. So back in 2012, I actually met a friend online through Mario Kart's community, the online community, and he was actually a YouTuber, and like that was his job at the time. And for me, I was just someone who liked to play video games. I didn't really know much about it, but my friend goes by the name of Dr. Kendo on YouTube, and so we were friends, and we would just play games together, and like I would just see here and there, like he posted videos, and like I would meet these other online friends, and for us, like a way to bond was to play online games together. And like it started where he would say, hey, can I record this for my channel? And I was like, yeah, sure. And for a few years, like he would just post gameplay of us playing and whatnot, and I didn't really think much of it. And so for me, I was just a viewer. I'd play games. Sometimes they would show up in videos. And then when Twitch Plays Pokemon came out, that's actually what introduced me to Twitch, and I was blown away. The fact that there was Twitch interaction playing Pokemon, like that completely blew my mind. And so that introduced me to the platform of Twitch. And for a few years, I had the account, but it was just as a viewer, you know, it was just to watch streamers. I got into Minecraft for a little bit. So after Pokemon, like I was into Minecraft for a few years. So I watched a lot of the big Minecraft people like OMG It's Firefox, Captain Sparkles, who had Twitch accounts, but were YouTubers. And so, you know, after that, you know, I was watching them, I saw what they liked, and I eventually thought, you know, like, I want to give this a try. And, you know, I'm playing with my online friends anyway almost every day. Like, why not I just live stream it? And I started with variety, actually. The first game I ever streamed, I think, was Undertale in like 2016, 2015, sometime like that. Undertale was the first thing I started, and I had done variety for a little bit. It was very on and off. And it's when I got a capture card that I really enjoyed, you know, streaming consistently and talking with people about it. So Pokemon was just the thing that I, you know, got really addicted to and played, and from there, you know, it's history. So yeah,
that's a great story. You kind of, I want to go back to that first introduction to your friend and how you kind of met this YouTuber. A lot of people have a similar kind of story. They met somebody who was kind of technically in the field, and the friendship blossomed, and naturally you picked up some of the expertise and became comfortable with it. But how did that first interaction go as a young girl looking to kind of get to know this community more? How did you kind of slip into this?
Oh, I love this question. This is gonna sound crazy, I feel like, in today's age, but it was a YouTube comment. In 2012, I would comment on the Mario Kart videos being like, wow, you're really funny. Like, you know, like, thanks for the video. And for me, I'm all about like giving meaningful compliments. And I was that try-hard commenter who would be like, you know, wow, like this part of the video was really cool. And like, I really appreciate this. And, you know, from there, like, I just got a DM being like, hey, you're really cool. Like, I want to do a YouTube subscriber, like, you know, like game night session. Would you be interested? And I was like, absolutely, I would be. And so from there, like, I made a bunch of friends. Like, I just, all these friends who were in this little Mario Kart circle, I just kept talking to after the night. And so our friendship just continued there. But, you know, it was just online friendships and just interacting with their community and like their content and what they were doing. And it became more personal. And so, yeah.
Exciting. It sounds very organic and natural, like you were kind of led to this path naturally in your own way. You also mentioned earlier that you already had a Discord when you got into this. How did that kind of play? That's usually a community around a channel, but it's almost like you had the community before you had the channel. Look, how did this happen?
So it's weird because so my little group of friends, I could almost call that our starting community, and also my real life friends. I guess my community started as that circle, was the people like on Facebook who I would say, hey, would you like to try this new thing out with me? And my online friends who, you know, would talk through Discord. It really started where I made a Discord because my good old friend Jess, Joe Modo on Twitch, she was like, hey, Steph, there's this new website called Discord. It's apparently better than Skype. Like, you should get one. And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize that you didn't have to make a server. I thought you had to make a server to use Discord. So I had made it, and then I invited my real friends to join it. And from there, I think this is a really interesting thing to talk about, is for my content journey, it actually started as a very personal journey, and it evolved into a content journey. So something I've actually not struggled with, but have questioned myself with is, you know, my Twitters and my Instagrams, they started as very personal things. My friends, my family, you know, old high school friends that I had on there, you know, that it slowly evolved and turned into something I used solely for content. But it did start very organically as my personal journey because I was just passionate about doing content and playing video games. So I was just, you know, I just opened my personal net. And, you know, now that it's grown a lot, I've actually learned to separate a little bit of some things just for safety reasons. But I think that's the reason it's a little convoluted in that sense, was I didn't really start with the mindset, I'm going to be a streamer. And I think it's amazing people have that now with just how many more streamers are doing this for a living. But it was very much for me, I'm going to just have fun. And then I realized, wow, this is actually something that you can do as a career / part-time job. And wow, like, let's see where this can go, you know?
Where was that moment when you realized that you can do this as a part-time job or a full-time job even? Yeah, aha moment that lets you know you could keep going. What kind of traction were you getting? What happened?
So I would say, I think for me, it was when my community helped me raise money for TwitchCon 2017, which at first I was not going to go to TwitchCon. And at the time, this is when I had just started making friends in the Pokemon directory. So I had started meeting other streamers for the first time. For my first like year of streaming, I was very isolated and not even realizing that other streamers had these communities and talked with each other. And for me, I thought, oh, people just kind of stick to their own little bubble. Like, my IRL Facebook friends sit and watch me stream, like, and that's just how it is. And then when eventually, like, I got a raid for the first time, I was like, whoa, what the heck is this? And I started raiding people, and then I started meeting more people in the Pokemon directory specifically. And I was like, wow, like, look at all these friends I can make. And so then I started making friends, and then they started talking about this thing called TwitchCon, and I started learning about how other streamers do this full time, Twitch partners, all this stuff like that. And, they convinced me. They're like, Steph, you should do a donation goal and, see if you can raise money to go to TwitchCon. And I was like, it's 3 months before TwitchCon. There's no way that I can do this. Like, I'm just gonna, you guys all have fun, like, and do it. And they did positive peer pressure. And, I did a stream where, I was like, it doesn't matter if we don't hit the goal, but like, let's give it a try and see how it goes. And my community was amazing. I'm grateful every single day for that opportunity that I was given. And so I hit the goal, the amount of money that I needed to fly out to California, TwitchCon 2017. And once I got to TwitchCon, I think that's when I realized I saw all of these people who were doing it as a job, but also loved it so much. And I was like, wow, this is really inspiring and motivating. And I want to give it my best shot too, So yeah.
And what happened then at that moment when you realized this is a thing, I want to give it my best? Like, how did you give it your best? Where did you go? What did you learn? How did you make sure that you gave it your best?
Yes, that's a great question. So for me, I started looking at what other streamers were doing that I really liked, and then was wondering, how can I put my own spin on this? So if I saw a streamer, do an effect that I thought was really cool, I was like, wow, this is a really cool idea. I think a great example of this was, Vanderforge is a streamer who introduced these shiny hunting challenges, and it was so epic. It was Mega Man themed, where you could go and like hunt for these Pokemon. And I was like, what if I did something but incorporated my love of anime into that? And so I took things like that and just, transformed them into something that was my own and something that would be really fun. And so those were kind of these keys to, build my content and, keep growing my community, doing things like Discord movie nights and game nights, and finding strategies that I saw that other people did that were really cool, and like do it in my own way with my own little twist to it.
Mm-hmm. So deducing the people in the community that you were fans of, and you determined what it is that you enjoyed about them and tried to incorporate them into your own stream, just kind of systematically.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very pragmatic and scientific method kind of style. When reviewing your stats, you had a jump in metrics around July of 2018. You seem to have doubled views on most of your videos and nearly hit like 5,000 average concurrent users. It's insane. It's kind of come back down to earth here a little bit, but you still range between 160 concurrents down to maybe 60 concurrent, depending on, I imagine, what you're streaming or the time of week.
Right.
What can you tell me? Like, what happened there, and how have you been managed to kind of reshift your stream and retain what you've retained?
Right. Oh, that is 100% due to the 4th Gen Gamers YouTube series Cutthroat Pokemon Season 2, which was a 5-player Nuzlocke series of Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. That was an amazing high-production race. I am so honored to have been a part of that series, and it was very cool. We actually got Twitch front page. We did a full 1-week marathon for it. And that was so much fun. We did a 1-week marathon where, we'd be live for 10 hours and have a little break and then go live a couple hours later, and we just kept it going. And that was a really, really fun time. I got to be a part of it just because of my passions for Pokemon and what I could bring that was unique from, other content creators. And it was really cool. And to this day, I actually still get people who come into my stream being like, wow, I just watched Cutthroat Pokemon Season 2 and I loved watching you in it, and like that's so awesome to me. And it also really introduced me to the importance of like diversifying your content. And I actually started a YouTube channel a little bit after that, I believe, or before that. It was maybe May or June. It was around when Cutthroat Pokemon launched. I decided, I definitely need to start a channel, and because you can get new people that way. And so I started my own YouTube channel and did a little bit of work there. So yeah, that was such a fun project. I'm so honored to have been a part of it. And what I do to keep, to retain that is, I just be myself and I keep my content strategy, because I do want to retain people, but at the end of the day, I want to retain the people who fit my values. And not everyone is going to who comes in is going to stay, and that's part of being a streamer, is accepting that people will come and go. And also, if you change your content strategy, if you change your values, it is okay that people will leave. People will change their taste. People, in 3 years, 3 or 4 years of streaming, people like finish high school. They're very different people, and like that's something you just have to come to accept. And so you want to bring people in, but with what your motto is as a streamer. And like finding who you are on Twitch is, I think, really important to being able to have fun and do this, this grind people talk about, and not burn out, is if you're doing it your way and in ways that, work best for you.
No, absolutely. The method of acquisition is incredibly important, right? It's almost like when people run these giveaways and they get all this extra attention for a giveaway, but it may not necessarily be people who are interested in the quality of the stream, right? So they end up losing them anyways. But even more so, you probably found yourself underneath the common scenario of now you're a big-time streamer, right? Some small streamers don't like big streamers.
No.
Did this happen to you at all? Did you notice people being like, Twitch partner, I only like the little guy? Like, how did this change the dynamic, kind of the expectation?
I definitely, I still don't even consider myself a big time streamer. That makes that, people say that all the time, and I'm just like, I'm just here, I'm just doing my thing. But
well, statistically though, you're still top 30% for, you're still up there as far as like 0.3%. So like, there's a huge amount of streamers out there. You're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of almost like drama, you could say it, where there are people in the community who they get sad that you become successful because they lose that very intimate interaction. And even though I try my very best to be as interactive as possible and to form connections in my Discord, I'm so active in my Discord every day. I talk with everyone as much as I can, but I'm one person at the end of the day. And there are people who just won't understand that, and you just have to kind of accept that. I've had people who have DM'd me things like, "You're a sellout and you only care about Twitch for the money." And I'm like, why would I be responding to you paragraphs if that's true? And like, that's just something that comes with the job. People who will hate or will refuse to understand. And you can try and have a discussion all you want, but not everyone will. So find those support groups, find those people who will support you and will remind you, hey, this person's shouting nonsense, and, stick with your guns and what you believe in. And for me, I'm always very empathetic, and that's what's always helped me through that kind of stuff, where I'm like, this person's either a really young kid who doesn't understand it, or, they're closed-minded, and I feel really sad that they're closed-minded, and I hope one day they will be open-minded. And I think of it less as like they have all this weight in their opinion, because, emotions are something you can't control, but you can control the actions you take after you react to something. You can control the decisions you want to make, and you could take a deep breath and say, okay, I heard this thing, but I'm not going to let this affect what I want to do. I'm going to be motivated and do what's going to make me happy, and do the things for the people that I know will support me.
That's very mature. It even sounds a little bit like one of those motivational speaker type things. Do you find yourself finding sources of information like this to help you in stressful times, or are you naturally coming to these conclusions through, the way you were raised and content of character and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I do feel that just growing up, like people always said I should be a therapist. I've always had this mindset. I'm an optimist by nature. I always look for the good when bad things happen, and just being really empathetic. Like, I guess I always try to twist things around in a more positive way. I think that's just how I've always grown up. Funnily enough, I attribute a lot of it to watching anime growing up. This is something I nerd about. It's so nerdy, but that's why I love it, is that, watching anime, like your shonens and, these action-packed things where they talk about don't give up, like friendship is everything. And, I really think it impacted me as a human, because, when it's not fighting alien monsters or going to like another planet, but, real life things, if you strip them and leave like the core human emotions, like the lessons you learn from anime about, sticking by your friends and not giving up, and, like putting a smile when times are really tough. Like, I guess honestly it's anime that's given me this like motivational speaker thing. There's a couple of like TED Talks and other things I watch, but the first thing I think about is just anime and video games that have like really impacted me like that. So I think that's really where I've been, and I like to share that information. And I think that goes back to this whole being a role model, is like sharing optimism. The world, like Twitter, for example, is so negative, but you know what, if I could be that one person that can spread like a positive message or, say something good, I think the world needs more of that.
Absolutely, and I can get behind that 100%, especially what you said about anime teaching us about these good principles. I am a huge proponent that the hero's journey of anime has combined with the Eastern philosophies inherent with the creators to kind of teach the West a little bit more about this type of Zen Buddhism, Taoism type of central kind of concepts of like do good and don't do bad, or just inherent understandings of these things.
Absolutely.
No, it's fantastic. I all the time, and it's specifically even shown in Jumps as well. They seem to be the ones who are most distilled down to this core theme. If you look at all of them, they're basically just stacking principles of this like overcoming the various struggles.
Yeah.
And, Naruto very much the people around you. One Piece very much the Nakama people around you. There you go, a little Midoriya. So they're all kind of based on the idea of community, then being the what saves them and what helps them do all this stuff. That's what you were brainwashed too. I see. Yeah,
I am the embodiment of anime girl. Like that's just my goal in life, is just to be the best anime girl I could be.
Well, what's this anime girl watching nowadays? Clearly, My Hero Academia, but.
Oh, I watch so much, guys. I've seen hundreds of anime. So I will give the disclaimer to people who don't know. My favorite anime is Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's my top number one anime. Right now, what I'm watching, I just finished The Promised Neverland. That was a really great thriller. It was really interesting. Right now, I'm watching a really funny comedy. It's called Kaguya-sama: Love is War, which is basically two characters who really like each other but are stubborn enough to not say it. And if you've ever seen Death Note, there's one scene that there's like a potato chip scene where he's like, I'm gonna take this potato chip and eat it. It's the most dramatic thing, the dramatic scene ever in like anime. And this anime, Kaguya, is basically two stubborn characters who are as dramatic as that one scene in Death Note. So it's really funny. That's something I'm watching. I'm about to start One Punch Man Season 2's episode 1 aired, so I get to see that.
When did it come out?
I'm so excited. Like last week, like really, really soon.
I gotta go.
So, yeah, I know. It's time to end the interview.
I know. Sorry, guys. We gotta get out of here. Yeah, I heard they have a different art studio now, so I'm a little bit anxious to see how they ended up pulling it off, right?
Yeah, I've only seen the trailer so far, so I don't know yet, so I'm excited.
You can kind of tell in the trailer, though. I mean, it was a little bit of flame. I watch a guy called For Neverworld sometimes, and he does good deep dives, and he was like, yo, this animation, I don't know, it's like kind of like one of those moments, so it's like a real, like, finger biter. I can't wait.
Right.
Well, I approve of your entire list. I love it. Slice of life plus some official shonens. It's kind of like you like a little bit of that grittier, edgier type, like you said, the Persona 5 kind of angle.
It's really ironic because a lot of people know me as a really bubbly, positive person, but I have a very emo side, and I think that I guess that balances out my positivity. Is like I love really dark and emotional shows, and I think it's because I really appreciate the craftsmanship, and if something can get me so like emotionally riled up, I think it's beautiful writing. Like other anime out there like Clannad, Angel Beats, Anohana, like all of these like really sad shows, I love them as well. There's so much out there, and I think that even I love My Chemical Romance listening to them, and Panic at the Disco, and a lot of like the emo groups, and I if I can get emotions evoked out of me, like I feel like that's a really good thing. So yeah.
What an emo girl. I mean, like, make me feel. It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. Let's get to the business side of things here, because this is in the day kind of a business, right? Your goal here is to progress and to go further until you are a full-time if possible. Without getting into too many details of like specific numbers and stuff, how do you think about this project? Is it creative outlet, or are you kind of pushing to make it a full-time career?
So what's interesting is I'm not 100% sure yet. So currently I'm in a very fortunate position. So I do university full time. I'm almost done with my degree.
Cool.
But, this has been like my part-time job going through university. And I'm very lucky because I know with my school load, I would not be able to work part-time while just doing university. It's very hard for me. Different people, can do it and balance it. I can't study and work. Like it's too much. But with streaming, I was able to, have this job that worked with my schedule. I stream evenings, which you don't work normal like 9 to 5 jobs or part-time jobs, like 8 to midnight or something like that often. And so for me, I'm very, very fortunate, and I love my community so much that I have this opportunity to part-time, do streaming. And it's also amazing and fun, and it combines, some of my philosophies in life as well as just provides me income. And so for me, what I did learn from streaming was I actually changed majors completely. I used to be a bio major, so I laughed a little bit with the whole pragmatic scientific comment because I used to, be very heavy into research. And, I realized that that wasn't for me. The skills that I got from streaming are the things that I want to take with me into a career. And so, while I haven't fully like figured out exactly what yet, either going into the industry or doing something else, I think I want to keep streaming like always as something part-time for me. I don't know if I would do it full-time just because of the ups and downs and how unstable it can be. It's so rewarding, but it's really stressful when, April, for example, this month, it's a really down month for a lot of streamers. December and the summertime, that's the time to thrive. That's the time to push your content and do your best. But it's hard in, between January and like April, like it can be really hard when that's your only source of income to work with. And so I think for me, I want to take the skills that I've learned from streaming. Anyone who wants to try streaming, see what skills are brought out from the thing you love and apply that to a position. So I've been looking at switching into a more like digital media focused, career and something along those lines, which if I didn't do streaming, I would have never realized I want something more social, something more digital in my life. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. But for now, I've focused on, what skills can I gain and like, how can I apply this and mix it with the real world that we live in?
No, I really liked what you said about learning, having it. It's basically practice for you. You're working, but you're practicing and you're learning all of these technical skills, which are very valuable. I mean, it's an easy 60, 80K a year to somebody who has these technical aptitudes and can produce consistently through like a normal workload, like just normally. I see though that you're spending all this time working on it and you are improving. There has to be some sort of like side by side. Like, are you going to like one day kind of pivot off into full IT work, or this is kind of a personal brand for you at this point in a world where personal brand is becoming a significant thing? I mean, right now I feel very strongly that Twitch are just the early birds. That eventually, like with the Snapchat glasses, everyone's going to be recording everything and everyone's going to be streaming. So you're kind of just getting ahead of the curve a little bit, so much to speak. Does that idea of personal brand come into play here, or or is there any tactical kind of nature here?
It's interesting. I guess for me to go full time and to really prioritize the full brand in terms of career, because for me, it's a passion project right now almost that just so happens to bring in the income, which I'm very grateful for. And so I think for it to tip that scale to become something I would want to do full time, give up on everything else, I think I would need to first see that in my statistics. And rather than chase it, I want to focus on leaving as many doors open as possible. And, going back to the idea of diversifying, I don't want to put everything into full-time Twitch streaming. What if Twitch in 2 years, something horrible happens and, they go out of business, or which they wouldn't, but because Amazon owns them. But if, for example, something happens, you never know in 5 years, where's Twitch going to be? What if a new site just takes over everything and, anyone who's on Twitch is, going to lose, and you never know. So for me, like to take that jump, like I feel like in the moment, I really need to see where my stats are. Am I close enough to be able to like provide for myself? Just with it alone. And so for me, it's kind of like, let me just keep doing my thing, but also opening other doors, learning other digital media skills I can, learning about, how to analyze trends better and, do more like digital marketing, which is something that I'm just trying to self-teach myself a little bit more, so just balancing, having as much as I can at my disposal.
Yeah, no, you just hit several different things, the various questions that are coming along, kind of.
Oh, really?
No, it was really good. Kind of more touching along the ideas of like Twitch itself as a platform and kind of your presence on other platforms. You're one of the uncommon apples who has a YouTube channel that is as big as her Twitch channel. A lot of times they typically lean one way or the other, but you actually have an equal presence on both as far as just raw count is concerned. What can you say about that? Like, how have you managed to do that? And is your focus truly split like that, or is it just happens to be that it kind of came that way because people enjoyed it that way?
So here's where I have to give a major thank you to the people in my life who have helped coach me with YouTube and learning a new platform, because people like the 4th Gen Gamer are amazing people who really pushed me to try YouTube and to diversify my content. And I am so grateful to have him, who has really taught me a lot. And so while, you know, the work is on me to, you know, get the channel up and running and to do it, I learned a lot about what it means to do content like efficiently and on different platforms, where if I did not learn the skills that I did from him, I would not be doing YouTube at all, because I was that girl that said, I'm in university, I can barely do Twitch. And then, you know, he said, hey, why don't you just cut up your Twitch VODs and just put them on YouTube? Let me teach you how to SEO and to do thumbnails. And you literally can, it will not take you more than 2 hours of your day. And that's in the beginning, you know, like to do a couple of thumbnails to learn how to, you know, SEO. And it's like, for me, it's kind of funny, because in terms of my time commitment, it's still a, you know, 80-20 split, with Twitch being my focus and YouTube is just the extra thing. For me, YouTube is the place where I just put content that was on Twitch, and if people like it in that format, they just so happen to do it. There were a couple of series I did that were YouTube exclusive, but my heart is definitely with Twitch. But I do see the value in having YouTube. I did a Smash Bros reaction video to Smash Ultimate, and it blew up. It got like 60,000 views, and I was like, what the heck? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I had, for the next week, people coming into my Twitch stream being like, wow, I saw your Smash reaction, you were so cute, whatever, blah blah blah, like it was fun. And so that really, like, that was early on, you know, it was back in the summer, and I was like, wow, like, it's definitely worth putting, you know, the time into, even if it's just a little bit of your time, into other platforms. I feel like with Twitch, there's a lot of streamers who have that bleed purple, but almost to a detriment, where they don't want to even try another platform. And for me, as a Twitch partner, I am like exclusively obligated to stream on Twitch, but if I can put my videos on the other platform, you know, it's something to where now that also brings me a source of income. And, you know, definitely Twitch is my mainstay. And like, without Twitch, you know, like YouTube would not do close for me where I'm at, just like monetarily and whatnot. But, you know, the friends who have helped me along the way, the big thing for me is to not let it take too much of your time if that's not your goal. So for me, I just put up the VODs and I cut them. I actually, on OBS, when I'm streaming like an Egglock series, I hit start, stop. I don't even edit at all. I hit start, stop, upload it straight. And if people like them, they watch them. And like, I do a cool thumbnail here and there, but I really don't put, like, I care about the people that comment on there, because I love, again, this community, but I don't really spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Well, it sounds like your technique is appropriate, and it's very common for people to have mentors like this, friends in the community that they meet through a project that ultimately end up teaching them. Our last guest ended up talking a lot about a friend of ours, Zeningami, who was on this previously, and he was very kind to him and helped teach him a lot and brought him a long way and showed him a lot of the steps of this. So that's very much, I think, one of the core techniques here that helps a lot of people kind of progress. It's this physical connection, or, you know, Discord connection, or whatever type of direct communication here. So that's absolutely appropriate. I think it just sounds more like your natural aptitude and technique and personality just does well on YouTube. You know, like
it works.
You're very bubbly, and you're very you have great intonation. You know, there's a lot of creativity here. It just feels to me a little bit more like a YouTube-ish kind of market. So I'm happy to hear you about that success. Like you said earlier, though, the affiliates and the partnership with Twitch kind of limits the distribution opportunities that you have. Whoever's watching right now, we're actually distributing this on Restream.io, so we're being sent across across a lot of different platforms. And for us, we actually
subscribe if you haven't.
Yeah. So we actually end up getting our affiliate status, and then asked to have it removed in order to do Restream, to be able to send it across all the other locations.
Right.
Because we weren't monetizing our channel. Our goal isn't necessarily to monetize; it's distribution of content. But like you said, inherently though, it's diversification of content type and platform type. While you have to stream on Twitch. And I know that you're sending videos to YouTube afterwards, there's other content. Does that kind of secondary posting of your pillar content come into mindset at all, or are you kind of keeping it to YouTube right now? There are a lot of other platforms that kind of take to this a little bit, like TikTok recently.
Right.
We've had one of our guys, Droopy George, says that he takes some of his Twitch VODs,
he's so cool,
straight over to, oh, he's the best, right? He's probably
I literally, before this podcast, saw a Twitch clip you did, and oh my god, oh my gosh, it was so cool.
He's a DJ on Twitch. It's amazing. Yeah, he's cooler than I'll ever be, I'm sure. But he ends up sending all these Twitch VODs straight to TikTok, and they do very well. He's got that kind of like, you know, fun personality that does really well too, which it sounds like that would be a natural suit for you. Do you find yourself looking into these newer video type platforms or to kind of test it out, or are those just kind of, they come with time depending on what you're used to?
You know, it's one of those things where I know, and I would tell other people to do it, to diversify, to do all the platforms, but it's hard. And, you know, I applaud you guys for having all of these live platforms right now, because it's a lot to manage, especially if you're a solo creator like myself, where I don't have an editor, I don't have anyone else, and to manage it all myself, it's very difficult. Even just doing Instagram as a social media platform for me is very hard, on top of like Twitter. I've gotten the Twitter game down where I tweet pretty regularly. That's the thing I do on top of Discord community and Twitch, and, you know, responding to some YouTube comments. But even just adding Instagram for me is really tough, and I think it's so important to diversify, but it's also just really hard, and I just have to stick with like what I can at once. And, you know, if I get the opportunity to really expand more and, you know, like have more time, I guess this goes into, if you do it full time, it's like you can really put your eggs into more baskets than right now. For me, I can't, so I haven't looked too deeply into it, but I think it's important to be aware of things like TikTok and to know that it can shoot up. And I know anyone who's looking into getting into streaming, it's like that could be your big break. You know, that could get you off a ceiling, you know, into a new ceiling. And it's important. I should totally do it, but I definitely have not followed up with that yet.
Well, I mean, at least 10% of your followers or subscribers are on to you on Twitter, so that's a decent crossover already. So you've definitely got okay there. I also have issues with Instagram. I treat it like an art gallery, right? Like I don't want to mess up my gallery at all. But stories are just free reign apparently. So I've been trying harder and harder to treat my gallery like my stories. I don't know if I like it yet, but it's a work in progress. I empathize with you greatly. I hope when you get more time and you're no longer a student, you can lean into this a little bit more, like with this digital marketing kind of aspects. I don't know how much you know about our history, but we are at our core a digital marketing and development company.
I did see.
So if you ever want any other points and tips or tricks, then we always love chatting about that. That's kind of one of the core things we're doing here, is to help other people learn that they can kind of do it. There's a lot of these little techniques as far as the ability to recreate thumbnails appropriately and how to make them spread just that, you know, extra 10 or 20% that gets you that person that shares to make it 60K, whatever.
It's so interesting. It's so cool. Like there's so much, you know, people complain, like people misuse the word clickbait all the time, but for me, I make thumbnails. I'm like, this is art. This is so fun and colorful. It's like I so don't see it the way, and like I disagree. I agree with the people that say, you know, when you are misleading people, that's different. But there's a lot of times people just are doing good marketing and people complain about good marketing. And I'm like, why? This is so cool.
It's like you're talking about it. It's good marketing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm very honest about it, where it's like, it's marketing, but I like that marketing.
Well, we can talk forever about digital marketing. It's something I'll talk your ear off about. But let's go back a little quick. I got a couple other smaller questions here about your stream stuff. It's kind of come around your teams that you're on, or teams that you're partners with. What can you tell me about Team Sin Squad and the Elite Four? They're completely different, but then even you got a podcast going on with Indigo Plateau. What's going on?
I love that.
What's happening here?
So unfortunately, as of I think 2 weeks ago, Team Sin Squad did disband, but I'm so sad. But all of the people on there are fantastic people. The big thing that I loved about Team Sin Squad was especially raising money for charities. So, you know, Team Sin Squad as a collective raised, I think, $200,000 as a Twitch team for St. Jude last year. So just getting to be a part of that. I love raising money for charity. I can't wait for Play Live season. That's going to be just in like a little while. So that's really exciting. And that was something I absolutely loved about Sin Squad. Had fantastic people. The Elite Four, though, is still a team that I'm a part of and very active with. I'm actually an admin for this Twitch team. It is a Pokemon-centered Twitch team that tries to bring really innovative, different Pokemon content and really bring the Pokemon community together. So even if you're not a creator on Elite Four, we want to bring the community together. We want to cross-promote all people who are doing, you know, like Pokemon-related stuff and like just, you know, have a family there and just bring together different content. And so that's the big goal with the Elite Four, is just, you know, have a place where you can find Pokemon streamers that will provide really high quality, new and different content. So there's fantastic people. And the Elite Four, you know, right now it's actually a reboot, I guess you could say, because back in 2017, this team, it was something I was a part of, but I was not an admin, and nor was the leader the same. The Fourth String Gamer is now the new leader of this Twitch team. It used to be led by SCF3, now goes by Ali on Twitch, and I love her. She was actually, me joining that Twitch team actually introduced me to so many streamers, and it was this group of people that also helped with motivating me to like go to other streams and learn what I liked and take that and make that different. All those things we talked about before. The streamers that I looked to were the people on my Twitch team. So being on that team, like, it really showed me like what other people were doing, especially in my niche community of Pokemon. Like, I was streaming Pokemon and I got introduced to what other people were doing, and we did a lot of cross collaborations, and the community was so like connected and tight knit. And it will be again, I think, when Gen 8 comes out. Right now, people are branching away just because there's not that much to do with Pokemon right now. But yeah, so I love being on Twitch teams. Like, I think it's a really good way to break out of your shell and meet new people, start learning how to network. I know for me, when I joined the Twitch team, I was so shy. I was like, some of these streamers, they're way bigger or, whatever. And I was like, I don't know if I should talk to them or whatnot. And then you realize, like, they're just people, and if they're nice, they're gonna, which everyone on the team is super incredibly nice, like, they're gonna want to talk with you and talk strategies, and you become friends. When you become friends, you'll want to multi and share content with each other. And so for me, it was so good for me to learn to talk and to network when I was really, really shy. I know I'm really bubbly and excited now, but Twitch really brought that out of me. I used to be really intimidated and shy to like go and talk up to people, and it let me, practice my public speaking skills and talking with people and learning like the do's and don'ts of Twitch etiquette and stuff like that.
I know for a lot of people, becoming a part of a stream team is a huge moment for them as far as understanding, like you said, the ins and outs of the communities and stuff. But like getting onto a team itself is an incredibly valuable and difficult thing to do as far as like picking the right kind of group for you. How did you find yourself both? Like you said in the beginning, you were in your bubble. How did you kind of come across these teams and then begin to work your way into it? Was it a Discord kind of path like the rest, or what kind of happened there?
Almost a little. I guess I find that the pattern is that I talk to people, and whether it's a YouTube comment or it's in a Twitch chat. And back in 2017, when the Elite Four, I wasn't on this team. When I was popping into streams, like, I would notice the little banner in the bottom of people's panels that said E4, and I noticed a trend that a lot of the people I really liked were on this team, like in the Pokemon directory. It was a weird coincidence that, like, just so they happened to be on this team. So, people like, I think there were two people who were in the Pokemon community I discovered first. That was Vanderforge, and then that was Hologrunt. And at the time, they both had a little Elite Four logo at the bottom. I was like, huh. They have this like Elite Four membership here. That's interesting. And through there, like, I clicked on the team, and like I would just hang out and like talk with other people. And for me, it wasn't even about getting onto the team. I was just, hey, let me just be friends and like talk in their communities and get to know them. And that's something where, speaking now as someone who's an admin who, looks at people to bring on teams, like, I think that attitude of not just trying to be like, hey, how do I get on this team? But get to know the people, like, show your passions, like, without being like, choose me and like have that ulterior motive. Because for me, I was just like, these people are cool, like, I want to get to know them. And then they saw potential in me, and that's something I pay it forward all the time. In my Discord, I have a shameless plug section, and if you're somebody who I see in my chat often, like, not every day, you don't have to be in my chat every day, but if you talk in my Discord every morning, or you say something, like, you bet I'm gonna come check out your stream and support you, because that pay it forward attitude is what kind of keeps our communities going. And so I think that's just kind of what happened to me with the Twitch team, is like that pay it forward, where they saw potential in me because I was supporting them, and, not in a way where I'm trying to get on the team. It was just, hey, you guys are inspiring and cool, and like, give me like advice. And then eventually I took their advice, and then they were like, wow, you should be on the team. And I was like, that's cool. Team Sid Squad, I actually did apply for personally. So that was more, I saw, by that point, just by following different streamers on Twitter, I saw they had applications open. I saw all the charity work that they were doing. That was what really wanted me to get on the team. I was like, I want to be a part of this amazing driving force of like charity work. And so, I applied for it, and I talked about why I wanted to be on the team, and it just happened to also fit, in members they were looking for. So.
Well, the amount of heart that you bring to this is clear, and you're very much aligning it with your core interests, and then it just exudes out of you. There's a lot of personalities like you in this field have relatively strong character traits. That's what allows you to be in front of people like this and to kind of pursue this type of path. It seems like we're kind of knocking around the one or two things here about your character that's helped you progress, but I'd like to hear you think of what do you think is your character trait that's allowed you to be most successful in this?
Ooh. I guess for me, I would say this is so cheesy, but I guess just being yourself. I think it's on Twitch, it's really obvious if you're not being yourself or you're not having fun. If you're just staring at a camera and or you're just focusing on a game and you're not doing it. Because even if you're not about chat interaction, like if you're doing something you love, I feel like it really shows. And something else that I saw. This is something that I saw from someone who is giving Twitch tips. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly who, but it was something to the effect where they were like, people will be drawn to something that you're really like naturally about, and if you're not really into it, you're competing against people who are really into it. So like take me for example. I live and breathe this stuff. I could talk about it for hours. So if you don't feel that way, or at least to some extent about whatever it is you're doing on the platform, you're competing with all the people who do, like the people who grind, not just the grind definition of the day-to-day monotony, but the people who like, when I get time off of, if I'm in class for 6+ hours, I come home from an hour and a half commute and I stream, and I talk and I do Discord, new avatars and roles and figure out new things. And that's the reason you have to be so into it. It's not, because of necessarily how much work it is. It is a lot of work, but it's the people who are in this field are crazy in the best way. But, you're against all the people who are going to put more time into it than you. And for me, because I so naturally love doing it, it's one of those where it's work, but it doesn't feel draining to do it the same way writing a paper is really draining, or going in to do, a McDonald's job. Unless you're really passionate about McDonald's, you go if you are. If you're going in to do that kind of job, you're going to go home and you're going to be like, I don't want to do this. And I think that's the key to being successful, is you have to find that thing and you have to really, really enjoy it. And, there are going to be times where you'll get burnt out, but you have to remember what keeps you going. And, otherwise there's going to be someone who takes their place.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds very much that the character trait that you like most about yourself, or think it has been your biggest advantage to your success, is also probably what you would normally give as the greatest recommendations to somebody trying to become a Twitch partnered streamer.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of some overlap there, that you've kind of accepted and embraced the core principle to success kind of inherently there. Would you have any other advice that you would give a Twitch or a streamer who wants to become partnered?
Oh, I love giving advice to people who want to become a streamer. So the first thing is always give something a try. You never know if you're going to like it or not. When I had started streaming the first time, I didn't know if I was going to like it. And with this, I actually do give a disclaimer where also please don't commit to it if you don't like it. And that goes with either just the game, the whole live stream experience. I have friends where they had started streaming and then after a month, they were like, I really don't like this. And that's why I say don't buy hundreds of dollars of equipment if you don't know you're going to like it. I started streaming, guys, on a laptop, an Alienware laptop, one monitor. I would compartmentalize my screen so I had 25% gameplay, because that's the beauty with OBS is you can make things look really nice even if your setup is awful. My green screen, I barely have room in this room to have it, but I make it work. And with my laptop, it's I cropped everything to make it look kind of cool. You can do a lot without needing really expensive equipment. And so try it, see what you like, give it a try, see if you're going to like it. But if you don't like it, definitely look for something else that you might like to do. Maybe you'll like to make graphics. You don't like the streaming aspect, but maybe you like to make graphics for it. Maybe, you like to do something else that's related to it, but you'll never know if you don't try it. So that's going to be the thing. The second thing I always say is to not be discouraged by viewership. I feel like so many people are discouraged by viewership. Don't be discouraged. For 6 to 8 months, had 4 people in chat. But you know who those people were? It was me and either my online friends or my real life friends. And that's the big tip I always give to people is if you make it fun for yourself, you won't be focusing on like an empty chat room. Because for me, I had my best friend Jess Jomodo, and like we sat and we played Portal 2, and like sometimes someone would pop in, say hi, and I was like, oh hey, how's your day going? And if they left, it's like, well, I've got my best friend here, so it's still a lot of fun. And so also having like your friends and family support, giving you that initial boost, I think is, and giving you that practice with talking in chat is really helpful. Like I had IRL friends talk to me in chat and be like, hey Steph, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, hi. And I feel like that's really useful. I know some people, and not everyone's in the position where, you know, their family or whatnot would like fully accept what they're doing, but I tried to find people who would be open to it and, you know, help you out a little bit. And like that's what's really fun, because you're not going to get strangers right away, but you know, over time, if you're having fun and it shows, like you will like attract people.
Did you ever see yourself doing this kind of thing when you were younger, or like in 2002 or earlier on? Like,
No.
were you always this technically capable and interested in entertaining people? Like you said, you were a little bit emo in the beginning, right?
I know. No, I think what really draws me to Twitch is the social element, because none of this is something that, you know, I thought was coming, but the thing that was constant was I had internet friends from a pretty young age, you know, like I'm, you know, I don't like to talk about my exact age on streams, but I will say I'm on that cusp between, like, I didn't completely grow up in the digital era, but a lot of my childhood, like in the later years, definitely was very digitally focused. So to like narrow that down without giving my exact age, so a lot of, you know, my friends were online friends, and that was something that was constant, was this idea of like making friends online, because people like will bully you in school. Like at the time when I was going to like elementary and middle school, it's like people bullied me when I was a chatterbox, and I was like, I love anime, like have you seen, like were you watching Naruto or Sailor Moon or whatever it was I was watching at the time? And you know, they'd be like, you're a freak, you like those kinds of shows. And
Right.
you know, it was like, nowadays I'm so happy, and this, I think that's part of the reason why I'm like, please like what you like, because I don't want you to go through that, you know, like I want you to be loved and accepted for what you like, as long as it doesn't hurt other people, of course. And yeah, so for me, like that, always making those friends and connections is something that's just carried through. So
Well, it definitely sounds like you found a way to do the thing you enjoy in a new method, and it just kind of naturally translated for your core aptitude. It's pretty fortunate, actually.
Yeah. And I definitely, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, you're
I do think, though, even though for me, like, it was a very natural process, I do think, and there's a ton of other streamers, especially check out the other podcasts, who, you know, who talk about where it's like they saw another streamer and then they chased that dream. And I do think both paths can coexist. You know, like I'm that example of someone where like it just kind of happened and I wasn't expecting it, but I definitely think there are tools and techniques out there to really chase that dream too. So just because it happened to work with my personality and what my goals in life were, I do want everyone who's listening at home to know that I definitely think there's a lot of talented people who give great advice, who, you know, chased and, you know, did things a different way than I did. So yeah.
There's a many thousand different ways to go about this, absolutely. But
Yeah.
in the understanding that you don't have to follow a certain path. I know my path is not standard. I have a twin brother who's a doctor and has kids and a house and a picket fence.
Wow.
It's just there's a standard path and a non-standard path. You know, I sell gaming chairs, so it's like it's always interesting to see the difference in people and how we get to similar results. Over the years, though, there's bound to have been things that didn't go the way that you had hoped, even though you had a natural aptitude. If you don't mind sharing, what was your biggest moment? Or your biggest learning experience?
Ooh, I have two.
Okay.
The first one we talked about a little bit, which is the idea of letting go that people will move on from your streams and your community, especially someone like me. I talk about how much I love my community. It hits hard when somebody who is a sub to you for, you know, a whole year or more or something like that tells you to your face things like, I really don't like the direction your stream is anymore. I don't like how many people are there anymore. And sometimes they mean it with the best intent. Like they don't realize what they're saying. But when I, you know, for me, like I always say hi friends when I start my stream, because like I do look at my community as my friends. Like, you know, I open myself up to that. And so that was something that was very hard, was that to accept. And I have fully accepted it, even though I have those days where I get sad about it. It's okay to be sad. You know, people will move on. You know, I think things like seeing like your regular stop being in your stream and then they're in your friend's stream, like not being upset by that and being like, that, you know, this happens, that's okay. You know, it's not you, like that's not something that you can do. That's something that was really hard, but it's just accepting that you have to have confidence in yourself in this kind of field because no one will give it to you. Like if you're not confident in what you're doing, like you won't be able to succeed because you'll get stuck. And I have actually a little Discord thing that shows me in my Discord who leaves. And I actually mute it. I check it because of like statistical reasons, like who's coming in and when I say it on stream and whatnot. But I have to not get upset when I see, oh, look, this regular left my Discord. And I'm like, don't take it personally. That's okay. That's something that's tough, being confident in that. The second thing is, I think this comes with like your team and who you have on your team. I actually had a few problems with moderation. Shout out to all the amazing mods that I have who do amazing things. And for the mods of other channels who do fantastic things, I did have an unfortunate experience where, a moderator stopped kind of doing things that would represent me well. Like I had a bit of some issues with that, and I had to, cut the personal and say, hey, this is also my job, and I really can't have you being a moderator if this is like inappropriate behavior. There was some things going on in their life, and it was reflecting in my stream. And your moderators help cultivate your amazing community. And learning to, even though this person was my friend, this person had given me a lot of money in bits and subs, and to tell yourself that can't matter. Like you have to protect your community. And, I'm very, I'm one of those pushover nice people. I had to really step my ground and say, look, I had to get rid of people in my community where even if for months and months they were really nice, if they like become toxic, like you have to just step down, like, and know that there will be other people who will come in, and it's okay. You will have people who will support you. Do not let yourself be in a cycle of like being taken advantage of.
No, it's great advice. I think a lot of people in that scenario would fear that there would be some sort of retaliation, whether from the person that you banned or the community, and the fact that you banned them. Did you see anything like that happen to you?
Yes. I did have backlash from that, unfortunately, but again, that comes with the, position, and that's why you then get mods who will be prepared for that kind of stuff. And it's just the internet is a scary place sometimes. It wasn't anything too crazy, like but it was something that did make me uncomfortable. And that's the bottom line, is if you're uncomfortable with something, you have to take precautions, and you have to deal with, if there's alt accounts, you have to ban them and whatnot, and eventually it'll go away. Like it just will. And if not, you will do all the steps you can to ensure that it does. So now everything's great and dandy, but that was like, I think the biggest lesson that I had to learn with streaming were those two things: was not getting personal about it in both ways, in the getting sad people are leaving, and if something's not good for your stream, and even if somebody doesn't mean anything, if they're saying things that make your cast more difficult for you, then that's not okay. And you should either educate them and say, hey, look, that was my big thing, is I would give like a million warnings to say, look, you're great and all, like, you're your own person, but you can't do this in my stream, and that's just the big thing that you got to do to protect yourself, or you'll get walked over by either your chat or by other people in in life.
Well, I'm happy for you for overcoming that. I can see it as being one of the major hurdles that stops a lot of people. Is the community and the interactions from it like that. So props to you. Way to go. Everyone watching, we're going to ask some questions here for a moment. So if you have any questions, go ahead and fill it through. We've already got a couple here written down that have been asked throughout the chat. But go ahead and fill a couple more questions if you want. We'll try to fill them in. We have a couple more before we get there. But the two more general questions before we get to those. So the first one's going to be event-wise. Are you planning on heading to any events soon where people can come meet you?
Yes, I am. I'm going to MomoCon in Atlanta. It's an anime convention. So I'll be there the entire weekend. So anyone who loves anime conventions or in there, you can catch me there. Aside from that, TwitchCon and the PAX East, which PAX East passed away sadly. It's gone. It didn't pass. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean. Yeah. But PAX East I'm usually at every single year. So that even though that next year you could look at me from there, but this year TwitchCon and MomoCon are the next two big ones that you can see me at.
And when is MomoCon?
That is the end of May, so I believe that's the weekend of the 26th.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around there of May. Yeah, or 23rd to the 26th.
And for everyone who doesn't know, TwitchCon 2019 is at the end of September in San Diego as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, oh, and by the way, I look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be fun. We'll be at TwitchCon as well. I don't know if I'll make it to MomoCon. It's actually a short drive away, but I got to some of them over here in Tampa. They were fun. We do a few anime conventions.
There's like ShadowCon there, right?
I
love anime conventions, so there's one I think called ShadowCon in Tampa, and there's cool guests that go.
I'm sure there would be. The Tampa Convention Center has a lot of stuff like that. We did the Magic the Gathering Grand Prix was the other day in the same building, and then they had just some of the greatest My Hero Academia cosplay I've ever seen. There was a guy who had the full cowling going on, and he had woven in like LED lights, fiber optics through his suit, and so they were sparkling as he was moving around. It was so cool.
That's so epic.
Yeah, and he found some guy that was like truly like 6'4", blonde hair, and who dressed up like All Might, and so it was an amazing combination.
Hog champ.
I know it. So this channel, this question is a little bit self-serving in so many ways. You in this environment, everyone has usually disproportionate feelings about a certain peripheral in their life. Whether it's that keyboard that you sleep with, that mouse that has that perfect click, or the headphones with the perfect dynamic range, there's always something that people, nerds of our caliber, kind of have a certain disproportionate love for. It doesn't have to be your OPC, but what's your favorite peripheral?
Oh my gosh. I'm about to meme this podcast. I'm about to meme this podcast, everyone. I'm going to show you guys my favorite thing ever. This is an automaton.
What?
I love this thing. This is a Japanese toy instrument. Allow me, I can't play it, so.
Yet. Oh.
And I'm that much of a nerd. There's one that looks like Kirby.
It's a little one that looks like Kirby.
This is $20. I'm not sponsored. It's $20 on Amazon, and I love it. The big one was more expensive, but I love this thing. I want to learn to play it. Oh my gosh, I see StephOtones in the chat, and I'm so excited for that. I have an emote based off this little guy, and it's just one of those weird Japan things that, like, look at the face of this thing. Like, doesn't this just like make you happy? Yeah. Like, it's so random. There are people on YouTube who do phenomenal covers because it's practically like a violin. Like, if you can play violin, it's similar, except like the note distance between your fingers is a little bit different. So I used to play cello, but it does not translate with this thing, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
So I love that. It's so great. Of course, the OPC is amazing. And I love the OPC as well. But yeah, I love that thing.
It's hard to compete with a little talking Kirby instrument, so I understand. I know. That's pretty fun. So we got a couple questions here for the community. The first one is going to be from Ian. What was the first anime that you ever watched, and what aspects of this anime do you think hooked you into liking anime so much?
Ooh. So, okay, this is interesting because it's hard to narrow down exactly what my first anime was, because I would say the first things I watched were on Toonami, which was a channel, I think it was Cartoon Network or like Adult Swim. There was a lot that would play, so like Dragon Ball, Inuyasha, Naruto was a big one, and I think Naruto was the one that hooked me the most, which was very shonen, very action-packed, very shonen, and I think the aspect that really hooked me in the most, it was a mix of the art style. I love the beautiful animation that like Japan has compared to Western cartoons. Western cartoons are cool, but like they focus on less animation and more on gags. And for me, I love the art of anime, as well as I think just how serious the show would get. Like, I was so attached to the characters, where I felt like in Western cartoons, I liked the show, but I wasn't always like invested. Whereas like with a show like Naruto, I was like, wow, like I want to see what happens. And, shows like Inuyasha, which was another shonen, it was really what would play on TV, which is why I'm also such a big proponent for watching dubs and subs collectively, because if it was not for English adaptations, I would not know what anime was. And so that, though when I did watch these, I didn't know they were anime at the time. If we're talking the first anime I ever watched that was anime, it's a very obscure show. It's called Mermaid Melody. I watched it on YouTube back before, YouTube got rid of a lot of anime that, would be on there. Rightfully so, because they don't own the copyright. But I used to watch a lot of anime on YouTube. So that was a shoujo, which for those of you who don't know what that means, that's a very like romantic, chick flick kind of anime. Magical girl show, you could say. And so between those two, like TV introduced me to these cartoons that looked beautiful. I didn't know they were anime. Then I learned that they were anime, Googled anime on, on the internet, and then found so much more. So, yeah.
Nice one. I like it. Appreciate it highly. Naruto is, of course, a staple, right? I think the fight scenes when they kind of start picking up and you can tell that they're mapping real life human movements, you're like, oh, this is more real than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see the reflection too as far as the more adult motifs and themes really with your love for Full Metal Alchemist as your most famous. I mean, I know the creator is known, or at least Full Metal was an adaptation of Brotherhood, which was told to basically teach us pain. Because they felt that there was a generation who didn't go through wars and they were too soft, so they wanted to show you what real pain felt like. So I feel like I can see the similarities. That's pretty cool. I like your choices here. My first was a Miyazaki from Princess Mononoke.
I have that on DVD somewhere over there. I love that. I love that movie.
There was also Nausicaa and Valley of the Wind. I think that actually may have been like roughly around the same time.
Wait, isn't that the one with the bugs?
Yeah. The post-apocalyptic bugs and she rides the little glider kind of deal.
Oh god, dude, those things horrified me. Great movie, but like, oh my god.
Yeah, those giant creepy bugs with all the eyes and the little like crawlers in front of them. Yeah, it was the song at the end that hooked me into it. That da 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 da. Either way, it was like haunting to me. The next question is from is going to be, if you could change one thing or add something to the Pokemon games, what would it be?
Ooh, see, they made me so happy when they added character customization, and then they made me sad when Oras took it away, but then they made me happy again when Generation 7 brought it back, so I love character customization. If I could add something, it's really tough to think of what new features so awesome. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm a simple girl. Like, I keep thinking about what if there was better costumes, like in Pokemon. Like, out of all the cool features they could do, I feel like there were so many things that people have said to me that were actually really cool ideas that were mechanically implemented. But off the top of my head, I just think about like cute clothes and like, it would be really cool to revamp Pokemon contests to make them more like how they were in the anime. Because the Pokemon anime made Pokemon contests look so epic and cool, and in the game, like, it's just not the same. Like, it just isn't. So, maybe doing something with contests, like make them more, I don't know, exciting, something like that.
How would you make them more exciting, do you think?
Oh, I don't know if this could be possible, but it would be really cool to potentially implement like a custom like cutscene, almost like what they did with they had something like PokeStar Studios, something more advanced like that, where maybe you could get your Pokemon to do like a show of some sort, maybe with the new 3D models, like they could do like cool like little dance activities or something like, like almost like reminding me of like the Miku dance programs where you can get your 3D models to do whatever you want, but with your Pokemon. That's probably way too much to ask for, but if we're talking wild anything to do, that could be something cool.
I like it. It's a good addition. One thing I want to leave off here before we forget about, I want to make sure you have a chance to share with people. We didn't really have a chance to touch on Indigo Plateau, your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So what can you tell me about that? When's it airing and kind of what's your goal there?
So the Indigo Plateau podcast is something that happens once a month. It's on, it's usually on an Elite Four members stream teams. It's on one of the members' channels. And so I believe we're going to have one. The next one's in May because we did have one in April. So every single month, it's something Pokemon related or related to the Pokemon community. We had one that was like hopes for Generation 8. That was a really fun podcast to listen to and do. And, you know, we had the state of the Pokemon community where we talked a lot in more depth about, you know, what's the state of the community? What was it like 5 years ago? What was it like after Let's Go? We went a lot more in depth into those kinds of things. So if you're interested in checking that out, it is on, I believe it's on the Fourth Gen Gamers YouTube channel as well as his Twitch channel. Usually it could be on either his channel or another member will host the podcast. So if you follow the Twitter, Elite Four TV, you can find out stuff about when the podcast is happening. It's basically a bunch of stuff Pokemon related that you can find out. So it's pretty cool stuff.
And a chance to get you all together and have some good banter along the way. Because I know you all kind of are in this a little bit more than everyone else. So there's all these tiny little tidbits, you know. A lot of value there. Well, you know, Stephanie, I can't thank you enough for coming down and chatting with us today. It's really been a pleasure talking with you. If we leave everyone here today, let's kind of let them know when they can come find you and see you more on your channels.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much again for having me. I love getting to talk about this stuff, and it was so much fun. So you can find me live streaming normally at around 8 p.m. EST on weekends and I believe on Tuesdays and Fridays and Thursday, tonight at 8 p.m. EST, if you're happening to watch this live, I will actually be doing a stream. So 8 p.m. is the best time to catch me. Thank you so much for having me. And I just look forward to all the cool things OPC's got in store, and you guys will see me around. I'll be lurking around all the cool OPC things that'll be happening. So yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you at the next get together for the live OPC meetup in TwitchCon. You were a member of the very first OPC meetup, so we'll have to keep it going on for the next one.
Oh, that was amazing. Now, guys, now they can't get rid of me. Like, they saw me once, and like now I just find them at every convention.
You hunt us down. Well, we'll have more pizza and laughs at the next time, I'm sure. Again, thank you so much. I encourage you the most success and good luck in school and your stream and everything in between.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can come watch this on Friday at 5 p.m. In 2 weeks, we'll be airing your episode, okay? All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And until next time, stay OP.